Okay, so hello everyone and welcome. This is Learn to Test Your React Application with Neha Sharma. I will introduce her in a minute. But before that, let me, well, first of all, welcome everyone. And I wanted to tell you that the session will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so you will get the chance to take a look at it later. Um, Please, at the beginning, feel free to share your name and where are you watching our webinar from. Um, I see we have people from Dubai, Colorado, Florida, Boston, India, Tennessee. Okay. I myself am joining from Romania, Transylvania. So we are from all over the world. That's amazing. Okay, Georgia, Mumbai, India. So it's very nice to have everyone. My name is Bogi. This is my first hosting of a Women Who Code event. So please be gentle with me. um, I am head of engineering at In Recovery, a healthcare platform. Um, what I can say about myself is that I am a health tech enthusiast. I love engineering, technology, everything that is related with tech, but also with healthcare. My past 4.5 years have brought me to this point where I can say I am as much enthusiastic about healthcare and digital health that I am with technology, which is an interesting turn of events for for me and my career. Um, I want to share first of all a few things about I forgot to share my screen. Oh, nice. Okay, let me know if you see my screen. Okay, do you see it? Okay, so let me share a few things about Women Who Code and our mission, which is to inspire women to excel in technology careers. I think this mission is, for me, when I met Women Who Code, the Women Who Code community was something which opened my eyes that there are people out there with very similar issues and struggles that I have, and it was so nice to find myself around women who are going through the same things, and it was just very nice to feel that you belong. The vision of Women Who Code community is a world where diverse women are better represented as engineers and tech leaders. So our job is to help each other. This is the most important thing, to help each other up every time. Um, the code of conduct, this is Women Who Code is an inclusive community dedicated to providing an empowering experience for everyone who participates in or supports our community, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, ability, physical appearance, body size, race, ethnicity, age, religion, socioeconomic status, caste, creed, political affiliation, or preferred programming languages. Our events are intended to inspire women to excel in technology careers, and everyone who is there for this purpose is welcome. We do not tolerate harassment of members in any form. Our code of conduct applies to all Women Who Code events and online communities. If you want to read more, please follow the Code of Conduct on the Women Who Code website. And let me quickly share some upcoming events that we have. We have a career panel, Path to Solution Architect, coming up on the 17th, which I'm sure I will join. And then on the 25th of August, we have how developers can benefit from the new 5G paradigm. And on the 26th, front-end to serverless. So make sure if you don't want to miss it, you register on the Women Who Code website. And now let me present to you Neha Sharma, who will tell us about how to test our React app. Hi, Neha. Please start with a short introduction so we all know more about you.
Sure. Thank you, Bogi. So if you will allow me, I will do my screen sharing. Just a sec. Yep. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining around from all around the world. If it's too early for you or it's too late for you, or if you are joining in mid of your work timings, thank you so much for joining in. I hope next 1 hour would be helpful for you so that by tomorrow, not today, but by tomorrow onwards, you will be able to implement few of the learnings which I will be sharing here. About me, I was working as an engineering manager. I have overall 12 years of experience in tech industry. My whole career is around web or front end. I started as a web designer or a graphic designer, and then I moved to front end developer, and everything was very linear for me. I became an engineering manager, and today is my second week of taking a break. And from Monday next week, I will be joining my new job as a principal engineer. I'm a founder and organizer of JS Lovers. If you are not in India, I'm from India. So I started a community 6-7 years back in India. The name was JS Lovers. And if you will go Google about it, if you YouTube, you will find the all interesting stories around it. So just sharing few highlights. Meetup.com invited us to their headquarters where I shared whole my journey. They did a wonderful movie across that what work we are doing in India for the tech folks. So yeah, please, if you get the time and you want to know, do that. Yes, I'm an international tech speaker. So I'm speaking in conferences, meetups here and there from so many years that right now I love to push new speakers, and I'm an open source contributor. So if you are a person who would like to go and connect on GitHub, please, by my first name, you can search me. And I love calligraphy. This is my Instagram where you can go and search my work. And this is my Twitter, Neha with double H. Before we started this webinar, we all three were discussing the funny reason why my username has double H. If you are from India and especially from North region, you know that my name is the most common name in India. And the struggle is to get a username. So yeah, this is about me. You can connect me over Twitter. I'm pretty active there. If you want to connect over LinkedIn, you can search Neha Sharma there and you will find me. So this is some of my calligraphy work. The freshest calligraphy which I did today is on the left, be the woman you need it as a girl, because I know that this is a platform where we want to encourage more females to come forward in tech. So this is from my side, a small motivation quote, so that please continue doing the tech journey. And if you need help, please connect over such platforms where we can help each other. So today what we are going to do, we are going to talk about reactJS testing. And the agenda is we are going to have introduction, we are going to talk about type of testings, we are going to talk about libraries and frameworks, and then we will have a code workshop. In the code workshop, there are so many things. I will try to cover as much as scenarios I can. If I won't be able to, it's okay. On my GitHub, I have already put the code there. So once you are done with this talk, you can go back and refer that also. So even if we are not able to cover all scenarios, which is definitely not possible in 1 hour, so do not get stress out. Everything is already there on GitHub, and you can also reach out to me later on so that we can work together. So what is testing? So basically, if I will talk in a very layman language, as a dev, testing is all about finding bugs, issues which every developer hate, and making sure that whatever developers developed, it is meeting as per the client's request or requirement. Now, these bugs, issues could be your UI issues, basically presentational issues, or could be functional issues. And now the way industry is working, the testing model is changing. In few organizations, you have testers who are responsible for doing the testing, but in few organizations, developers need to take care of the testing, which means there is also one more add-on responsibility on the developers. Apart from that, if you are doing, as a developer, you are doing testing or not, it doesn't matter. But what matters is, are you writing the test cases? So are you doing the TDD? And I know in the industry, a lot of people doesn't follow TDD, which is an ideal way to work. But because we always have deadline on our head, we don't do it. So it's okay. Though it's not okay, but yeah, it's fine. But why testing is important? Why we are talking about it? Because when first time I heard about this, I was always like, but this is a tester responsibility. This is not my responsibility. My responsibility is to write the code, and the tester responsibility is to test. But later on, I realized that writing test cases is actually helping me. First, avoiding bugs. No one likes to see bugs getting assigned in the Jira to them. And if we are writing the test cases, we can avoid a lot of bugs initially. We can also make sure that we are shipping quality code, and we have a proof of documentation, because when you do TDD, which is test-driven development, it means that whatever the requirements are coming, we are writing the test cases first, and then we are writing the logic code for that, which is actually the documentation of what you are doing. So if you are a new developer or joining a new organization, or if you are a developer moving to new project, or if you are an open source contributor, you just need to understand that what is happening, what kind of feature is happening. You can just open the test case and just try to read that what they are doing. So that is also your documentation to understand. And you can write the accessible code. I also write a lot about accessibility. And one of the problem I have seen that we developers never prioritize accessibility. But if you will start baking accessibility also in your TDD or test cases, you can push for the accessible code. And the most important is the confidence. The confidence is very important. The reason is you have written the test cases, you have shipped your code. Now you can go and sleep. If any new developer is coming and that developer has done any change, because your test cases are there, if your test cases are breaking, it will give an alarm to that developer that, okay, hold on, you have made a mistake. Test cases are failing, so you need to fix that. So basically, slowly, you will also gain the confidence that whatever you are writing, the test cases, you are pretty much sure if your test cases are passing, then you are in good hand. However, there is a disclaimer. It's very easy to fake out the test cases also. When I say fake out the test cases, it means that you can just write except true to be true. I will show you that. And you can see that all the test cases are getting passed. That is known as the faking out. But you as a developer, as a team, you need to keep reviewing each other test cases. You need to make sure that all the scenarios are getting covered. I'm going to talk about the strategy also, what kind of strategy you should take when you are writing the test cases or doing the TDD. So this is the reason why you should do the test cases. Now, type of testing. Manual testing, we all know, doing the manual, checking each and everything. Unit testing, where we are today, we are going to spend most of the time, where you are going to pick a small component, a piece, and you are going to just doing the unit testing of that. Then you have integration testing, where you have two components, where you need to test that once you are clicking a button, the API is getting loaded on another component. So these kind of the integration testing, where you have two components coming together and doing some task. That's your integration testing. And the last one is end-to-end testing, where you test the whole flow of the application end-to-end. Now, there's also one which is snapshot testing. I haven't mentioned here, but that is also there. Now, manual testing, we all know that we need a dedicated person to do that testing. It requires time, a lot of time. We require a dedicated person. Anyone can do. It's an expensive task, testing, because you have to pay one person's salary. You have to also wait for the manual tester to be done with everything. And obviously there would be some mistakes, because at the end that person is a human. So you cannot expect that everything would be perfect. Now, coming with unit testing, integration testing, and end-to testing. Unit testing, integration, end-to-end testing, developer is required, or any person who can write the code, that person is required. Unit testing, integration testing, if I will compare with the timing, unit testing is required times, but it's not so complex, because you are focusing only on one component. But as you will keep going integration testing towards right, basically the complexity will increase. But there are automation frameworks and everything which you can utilize to do your work. My strategy is always start with snapshot testing, then go for unit testing, and then go for integration testing. The reason is, when you are starting a project, and if you are following TDD, then this is the best way to scale up your code and scale up your testing. That would be the best. And if your organization is pretty good, then you can go for end-to-end testing also, which is actually a very good. The best would be to merge your snapshot, unit, integration testing, and then having end-to-end testing also. Yeah, this is a table which I just talked about the cost, complex, time, and everything. So it's a comparison. Now, what are the libraries available for testing? So I have just, I'm going to talk about only few. Here we are going to talk about assertion and test runner. So assertion is basically where you are asserting, you are telling that I want red color. So this is this is what you want, and this is what we are expecting, that there should be a button in my code. The button text should be click me. So when you are stating these things, basically you are making assertion, you are making assert statements. So we have assertion libraries and we have test runner. Test runners are basically which are taking care in your code, collecting all the test cases and running them and generating the whole report for you. So that's the test runner. And what we are going to do in React, which come by default with our create React application, when you do install, is our React testing library and just this is what we are going to do today. So we have Jest, we have Mocha. This Squid is basically your React testing library, and you have Enzyme. Here, what we are going to use is we are going to use Jest and our React testing library. Why React testing library? First, it comes default. Second, it's very easy to use. You will see by yourself that how easy it is to use. And basically, it is based on the DOM utility. So it's very like the way you are interacting with the DOM. And this is also the mantra or funda of React testing library, that we should write the test cases the way our user is gonna use it, rather than making it too complex. So the way you will see when we are using React testing library would be the same. The user is clicking and this is happening. So you will see how easy it is to understand and write the test cases. So we are gonna use Jest and React testing library. I talked about this, create React app and React testing library. I talked about this, that React testing library is on DOM testing library. And now understanding the TDD, test-driven development. So what happened in test-driven development in a fairyland or the happy scenario in some multiverse, ideally we should start with the test cases where everything is failing. We haven't written any code, nothing. We just know the requirement. So the first thing should happen is we should start with a test case, which should be failing. And then we should start doing the refactoring of that code, making the progress, sorry. So we should start with the test case, which will fail, obviously, because we haven't written any code. And then we have to make sure that those test cases should pass. How? Then we should start writing the logical code. So the first stage would be read. Then the second stage would be refactor, where we are checking what are the requirements we have to meet to make sure that test cases are passing, and write that logical code in our JS file or component file or JSX file. And then we will reach to the green where our test cases are passing. However, we don't do this in real world. What we do is we write the component code first, then we write the test case, then we try to understand that how to make this test case pass, which is not a ideal way of working in TDD world, but yeah, this is how we work. So if you have that privilege where you can start with the actual TDD, I would suggest you start with your test case, write all the scenarios in the test case because you have the requirements, and then try to refactor your code and achieve that green so that you are following your TDD. This is a good way. I don't know how many of you have experience, but even in few machine rounds, they just give us the test cases and they ask us to write the code to pass those test cases. Second thing, what you can do is in your organization, if you want to onboard a new developer, you can just write the test cases for them and then hand over to them and ask them to write the code to make sure that test cases are passing. So these are the way you can also see the positive side of doing the TDD. If you are not able to convince your manager or anyone, but as a team lead or a senior developer or developer, you can start with it. Okay, so now I spoke a lot about test cases, TDD and everything, but generally, how does a test case look? Generally, this is how every test case you are gonna see. First, you need to render a component we want to test. This is the first thing you need to do. Then second step, you need to find the element. Either you are interacting with it or either you are testing that, whatever you want to do. Second step would be finding that element. Third step would be interact with those. So basically, if it's a button, you wanted to click there. If it's a tag where you wanted to check the routing is happening or not, you wanted to check the href or the route of that thing. And the last would be you need to assert that what you want this particular element to do. For example, button. I want on the button the content should be click me. So that would be my assert statement. And these 4 steps will make your test block. Now the scenario will keep changing, but the flow will remain the same. So now when you will go back to your work or your side project, you will look at your code and start looking at that what you are doing in that component and what you want to test. So the first thing would be component. The second thing would be what you want to test in this component. You want to test a form, okay, fine. But in the form cannot be your whole component. So there would be subcomponents. So which component you are testing? Okay, you are testing input one. So render that component, find the element, for example, input button. Now what you want that input button to input element to do? You just wanted to check the input tag is there or not, and that's it. This is what you want to test. So this is how you make your test block. And in a test, you can have multiple test block. So it doesn't mean that for everything you will have only one. You can have multiple. I will show you that. And this is how it looks in the code. If you are now keen to know how does it get converted to the code. So line number 4 to line number 8, this is your one test block. Line number 5, we are rendering our component. Line number 6, we are finding that element which I wanted to test. Now I'm not interacting, I'm just finding that particular element. And on line number 7, I have written my assert statement. All I want is this heading text to be in the document. That's it. So this is your first test block and this is how it looks. Now what I can do is I can write multiple such test block for my component header. Here, what I'm doing is I'm just checking the text hello. What else I can check is the header tag is there or not, header tag is valid or not. Might be if I wanted to do, I'm doing some logical thing on classes or style, I can do that test also. You can do multiple ways of doing the testing when you are writing the test case. So what you are looking at, these test cases are presentational. But the one thing I want you to, I really want you to see on line number 5, I am passing a prop. So I'm passing title equals to hello, and I'm checking that. So you can now connect the dots that in React, apart from your presentational, you can also check the props. You can check the logical things, functional things also. So this is how your test case looks. And we are going to write a lot of test cases. So wait for that. Now I want you to look at the line number 1, which is the topmost. What we are doing is we are using two things, render and screen, from React testing library. These are the most important one, which you will be keep using in your test cases. Render, whenever you want to check if the component is getting render or not, that's it. And screen, whenever you want to find any element, you will use screen. So on line number 6, this is what we are doing. By using the screen, we are trying to find the element. Now, moving ahead, this is I already talked about rendering. But one thing I wanted to highlight you here is the describe block. So on the top, if you will see describe, this is basically we are grouping all our test cases in the describe block. You can write your different test cases, but the good practice for organizing would be have your describe block, which will say, okay, this is the component for which I'm writing the test cases, and put all your tests inside that. So it's a organizational or code hygiene thing. So it's good practice. I already told about screen, that whenever you want to find the elements in your DOM, at that time you need this. Now, the next thing is query methods. What are these query methods? So React testing library, it has query methods, render, screen, and then query method, third thing. What this query method is doing is, I will go back to this particular slide because we have numbering here. So line number 6, you will see on the right side of equal to screen.getByText. So this get by text is basically our query method, which React testing library gave us. So it's not just get by text. We have get by, get all by, find by, these kind of query methods we have. And then we have text, role, alt, description, like this. You don't need to memorize everything, but as you will start writing the test cases, slowly you will start getting used to of it. But these query methods are very useful. The reason is because they give you a lot of power to get the elements you are looking for. Now here on this slide, you will see get all by role. What I am doing here is, I know I will be having multiple links. So that's why what I'm doing is, I am trying to access all of the link. If I know that there won't be multiple, then I will not be using all. I will be using get by role. This is the most important thing in query methods. And once you will start writing the test cases again, you will be getting used to that, where to use get all and where to use just get by. Another important thing here is talking about roles. So now what we are doing is, a lot of React developers are coming from, I don't want to, I don't know, but a lot of React developers actually write JSX, and JSX is not the HTML. So what happened is, when your React is done, your JSX get converted into HTML, and that HTML should be the valid one. Most of the developers only use div or span. The reason is, again, the accessibility knowledge is not there. What would be the cost the developers need to pay if they are not writing the accessible code, or the right HTML tag they are not using? This knowledge is, I have seen, is very limited. So whatever the reason is that, but good thing is, because you will be using query methods, you will be forced to write a accessible code. The reason is because you need to access the element by their role. So every HTML tag has a corresponding role in the accessible world. So if you are saying a tag, it means the role is linked. Now, how you can remember these? You don't need to remember these. All you need to do is just Google it. I will share the link where you will get the whole list. So it's on MDN. You can go there and search for HTML tags role, and it will give you the whole list. So if you wanted to search for headings, if you wanted to search for p tag, span tag, all these, you will get there. And this get all by role will help the reviewers also, code reviewers also, to make sure that whatever the code is getting written is accessible. So this is important thing to understand, that get all by role means that instead of saying get all by role P, you need to write the accessible role of P tag. Another important thing to highlight here, few HTML elements might not have their accessible role. So in that, there would be a workaround you need to put, but I think most of the elements does have their accessible role, so you don't need to worry about that. So yeah, this is about query method. I will skip these because I'm gonna do the code lab. I will just, again, I want to repeat that you have to start with failing your test cases and then write the test case to pass. This is the actual TDD. But right now in industry, we are not following that. But if you have that privilege, please do that. So let's switch to the code lab. And as I told you that in industry, we don't do that. I have done the same thing. So I have the code already with me. This is a simple code I have written. So what I will do is I will run my code. So this is a simple app. What is happening is I am hitting a random quote API. So this content, this both content is coming from an API. And the moment I hit refresh, it is again refreshing the code. So this is the part which is coming from an API. Rest of the things are the static. The code I have used here is your reactJS and TS TypeScript. Now, writing TypeScript, does it impact your test cases? No, it doesn't impact your test cases. So you don't need to worry about it. So for example, if I will show you header, so this is how my header component is looking like, because you will be just testing this component, what it is doing. So you don't need to worry about TS while writing your test cases. All you need to focus is just writing the test cases. That's it. So let's start that how to do. Now, do we need any special installation? No, we don't need any special installation as long as you have done your React code setup by using Create React app. So if you have Create React app, then you don't need to install anything, because you will see line number 6 and 7. I will zoom a little bit. You can see that this comes by default with CRA, React Create app. So you don't need to install anything. Only one thing what I added here is just the coverage one. Otherwise, when you will install, do a fresh install, the scripts will also look like this. And all you need to do is just run the test. I'm just keep leaving it here. I will talk about it later on. So now let's start with writing our first test case. So what you can do is in the source, you will create a test folder. So you can have __ test, or you can just have test. It doesn't matter. So I will just write __ test. And then in this, now which component I'm going to test first. For example, I'm going to test header. So I will create my header.test.js. Writing test extension is important. So this is the first step which I have done. And now if I will try to run this, nothing will happen. So now let's start with importing your, my cursor, I'm not able to find. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write my first test case here. Again, my cursor. Yeah. So let me import my component first. Give me a minute. This Zoom thing is coming, toolbar. Yeah. Okay. Now I will make my describe. What this describe will do is I am testing header component. And now the first thing I'm going to do is I can either write test or either I can write it. I will write it. It should render the component. And I will write expect true to be, sorry. And I have missed the fat arrow function. I'm not using this component right now, but what I will do also is I will import my React testing also. Testing, sorry. Now, what I will do is I will go to my package.json and I will run my test cases. So you will see here. Yeah. So right now, if you will see, I have faked my test case. I made it pass. But however, if you will see, I haven't written any logic to test my header component. So this is what I was telling you, that this you can fake it. And that's why it's important that someone should review that are you writing the proper test cases or not. Even if we will talk about the coverage, coverage is also giving you 100 or 7.69. I don't know, but basically you need to do a manual review here and you can fake it out. So now what we are going to do is next thing, I'm going to just put it like this. Another thing I wanted to show you is it dot skip. Now I will say that should have content ABC. Now what will happen is it will give us a beautiful summary. If you will see here in the terminal, it is saying one skipped. So now if you have written any test case and you wanted to skip that, you can do this. And now if you wanted to do a proper TDD, you will write like this, should receive props. Now what will happen is it will give us a summary, one skip, one pass, one to do. Now what this one to do will do is you can leave your all requirement like this and give your developer that these are the requirements you need to fill, and your developer will make sure that these are the test cases that person is covering and writing the code for that. So these are the few things I wanted to highlight here. Now let's leave it like this. Now let's try to write proper test case. So I'm going to remove this. Now the first thing I'm going to use is my header. My render, where I'm going to test if my header is getting render or not. So header. I have done the rendering thing. The next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to test that if wait, I need to see the code of this. Now, the next thing I wanted to test is there is a H1 tag or not. So for that, what we are going to do is we are going to use our query. So the next thing we are going to use is heading element, or you can just do the element thing. And now because we are talking about getting the elements, we are going to use screen. So screen now. Now the thing is, this is only one H1. So we are not going to use get all by. So we are going to use get by role. And what we are going to do is, and I think it will give you here also. Let me check. Get. No, it is not giving. Okay. And what is the role of a heading? It is basically a heading for H1. It's heading only, sorry, smaller case. But what we are gonna do is we are saying it's a H1. So we are gonna talk about the level that it is this. And now what we are gonna do is we are gonna write the expect with basically our assertion. What we are saying is that this heading element, our H1, to be in the document. Why it is okay. And let's see now what is happening. Gosh. So it got failed, which is fine. Why it is failing, it will also give you the reason that why it is failing. I think I have imported the wrong one. So testing library just DOM, not this one. I think this is a React one, testing library React. Yeah, one passed. Now what I will do is, can I minimize this? Yes, thank. Now what I will do is I will show you that how this test case is going to help you. Now suppose a developer came or some requirement change came, whatever the reason happened, the developer has moved it to H2. But the initial requirement was, or the code you have written was H1. Now this test case will fail. Now why this test case is failing? Now you will get a clear answer, clear, where it is. Yeah. So it is give you clear answer that reason why it is failing here. Name H2. And heading H2, 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 and it is just shouting those that this is a H2, but you have written the H1. So you need to go back and you need to update that this is the level 2, not level 1. If this is a new change, otherwise you can easily figure it out that this is why your test case is failing, and now it will pass. So this is pass. So this is how you start writing your test cases. Now the another thing is, let's write for the another component. Let's write for the footer one. In this footer one, what I want to do is I want to test that my two links are getting published, their href and their content. These three things I wanted to test here, and this is exactly what I'm doing in footer. My footer has two links, they have two href or routing, whatever you want to call it, and the content. These three things I want to test. So now what I will do is I will do the repeat thing, and you will see that this is a repeating pattern you will be doing. So what I will do is I will make footer test.js. I will just copy paste this from here, put it here from footer. Now, because I know that there are more than one link, so what I will do is get all by role. Now, I spoke about the role thing. You can do HTML tags role. So this is the link where you will get these all are the roles. So for button, if you wanted to check, so the role is button. If you wanted to check for, I don't know, let's check for input, what it is. This is input, role is an abstract role. So you will get all these things here at one place. Every HTML tag you are gonna use, you will get the role of that here. So you don't need to worry about that, and you can just come to this website, check the role and use it there. So let's go back to our code. So for the A tag, I know it's a link. So what I wanted to do is I want to say that get all link, whichever is in the screen. Now here, what I wanted to do is instead of this, I will say links, and I wanted to check to be length something, to have length. Let's see. Length, to have length. And what should be the length? It should be 2. So let's see if our new test case is getting passed here or not. Yeah. So second test case is also passed. Now, the next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to also test the content. So for content, you can optimize. So now it's depend upon you. You want to merge everything in one test case, or you wanted to write another one. So what I will do instead of doing this, I will write the fresh one here. Should have about us content. So now what I wanted to do is I wanted to see that if I have the about us content in the document or not. Now I want that about us content should be only one. So I'm not going to use get all by role. What I will do is get by role link, and then I'm going to use name, name about us. And instead of to have length, it should be to be in the document. Let's see if this is passing. So you will see that 3 test cases are passed. We have 2 test suites. Basically, what is your test suites? These describe blocks are your test suites. The reason of organizing them in your describe block is this only, so that you can talk in numbers how many test suites you have, how many number of test cases you have written. So when you are talking to your peers, these numbers are going to help you out a lot. So we have checked this. Now again, just to show you that if you will do any mistake, then how your test case is going to fail. So you will see that I have a const file already here. So what I will do is I will do a mistake here like a developer. So I will go to my const, and instead of about us or U capital, I will say small u, which is a mistake. I think it happens whenever we do the typo, and you will see that one test field got failed. Let's see if it is able to give us. So it is telling us here it is failing. And see, it is showing us that on our DOM, it's smaller u. Now we have to take the call, what kind of content we wanted to keep it. We wanted to keep the smaller one or the upper one. So this is how your test cases will help you, because you need to visualize you are not the only developer who is gonna work on the code base. You have written your test case, you have done with your feature and everything. And when your peers or your colleagues are working on it, it is very normal that they will make any mistake. You are making sure by the test cases that what you have written, the moment anyone else is doing the change, and if they are gonna touch your code and it is impacting your code, it should fail, and highlight them that fix something because it is touching someone else's code also. So yeah, so this is what we have done here. Now let's go back to our footer again. Now I can again do the same test case for the contact us for my second link, contact us. All I have to do is just, was it contact us or something else? Contact us, yes. And it will run. Yep, it is done. The last one more thing I wanted to show here is about href. So you need to check should have valid href for about us. So I generally write very descriptive, not very descriptive, but descriptive descriptions here. The reason is when you have a lot of test cases and your test cases are failing, this actually help me to highlight that which exactly one is failing, which exact test case is failing. So I prefer to have a very descriptive one so that I can understand that what is happening. So what I'm instead of about us, I will do for contact us. Now here, what I will do is I will add this, and what is the link for here? It's contact.html. So this will, yeah, so this is also done. Now we have written a good, so if you will talk about React apps, These are the starting points you need to take care. The element is correct or not, the content is correct or not, they have the valid length or not, they have the correct href or not. And by using these query methods, you can do a lot of things. So you have the query methods to check the classes, you have to query methods to test the style, you have a lot of way of doing it. So this is how you need to do. You need to understand which particular what you are testing, what you are trying to test. One thing is I'm doing a unit testing. What is unit testing? I have seen a lot of people get confused. If you will see on header and footer, my focus is only header and footer. I am not interested that where the header is getting rendered, where is footer is getting rendered. I am just focused on my header and footer component, nothing else. Even if the props are coming in, I will just mock here. I will just mock like this, title equals to, for example, Neha. And then what I will do is I will show you that for the props also you can mock it. So you will hear a lot about mocking. Should have props. So if I have any prop, I know the name of the prop. I can just hard code here, React. And what I can do is I can expect get by role heading level 1 and name should be React. Basically name means I'm checking the content and to be in the document. Now you will say that if this is dynamic, yes, this could be dynamic, but what we are testing in unit testing is what it got failed. Wait. It's coming or not coming. Let me check later on. But what I'm trying to say here is that with unit testing, what you are focusing on is that what you are focusing on is what this component is supposed to do. Your component is supposed to render a message, an element, and this is what we are doing. So this is about the unit testing. And if for integration testing, now let's go back to this particular here. Now, what if you want to do the integration testing? How will that happen? So this button is again, you will do a unit testing of this, but on click of this, this content is getting updated. That would be your integration testing, where you are gonna write the test case that how this is happening. Now, what I will do is I will jump towards the most interesting thing, which is the snapshot and the events. And because we are running out of time, so let's jump to that. So what I will do is I will just go and create my new file, which is button.test.js. And in this, what I wanted to do is I will just copy from here. And button, I will just remove all these. And my button is coming here. Now, if we will go to button component to see what exactly my component is doing, where it is here. So if you will see that what button is doing is, button is basically, there's a button, type submit, on click, there is a function and there is a content. Now, I have already seen you how to check the button. That button is actually the button and the type is submit, and how to check the content. So this is I'm not going to cover. I'm going to just talk about your click, which is the most important thing. So for click, what you can do is in React, you have two things. You have fire event and you have user event. The difference between both is fire event is basically it will dispatch the event. So whenever you want to dispatch an event, you will write fire event dot, for example, click. These are all the events you will get. So you wanted to do a click, you wanted to dispatch this on your button. But fire event is not going to simulate the user interaction. It is just gonna dispatch this event. But when you want to simulate your user interaction, for example, in input, the user is typing. For those cases, you are gonna use user event. So user event also use fire event under the hood. So it depends on your user scenario, which one you wanted to use. You will see that a lot of folks use user event, so it's fine. Few folks use fire event unless until they get stuck into few places, which are kind of a edge case, I would say. But you need to take your own call. So this is about the event. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna do the fire event. Now, second thing regarding event is you are doing the unit testing. So here what I am doing in button is I am calling a particular function, which is coming from my props. So I'm not interested what this function is doing because it's a unit testing. But what I'm interested in is that when this button is getting click, that this particular function should run. That's it. It's running successfully, not running successfully, what the output is coming, sorry, what the output is coming, I'm not interested in that. I'm just interested that when the button is getting clicked, this function should be called. This is your unit testing. But if you will add that you wanted to also validate the content, then it would become your integration testing. And that's a separate thing. So first we are going to do the unit testing. So when you are talking about the function, you are going to mock your function. Now, how you can do the mocking of your function? We are going to use our jest, which is the most famous one. So I will write my handle click. Now the how to do the mocking. So all you need to do is just write jest.fn. So this handle click is basically my mock function. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find my button. Is my button is there or not? So I will use screen. And what I'm gonna do is get by role. What's the role? The role is button. And I can also do with this, I can also test the content. So you can merge your test cases, it's on you. So this is refresh. So what I will do is I will just check if refresh is there or not. So this is done. And now I will fire my event. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to fire event. Which fire I want to do is click. And on what? On my button. So, okay, this is done. So my event has been dispatched. Now, what should I expect once this is happening? This is your assertion. So expect what I'm expecting, that this particular function, which I marked, to be called, to be called, to be called. That's it. And I can, what I can do one more thing. I can specifically says that it should be called only once. So let's see if this is working or failing. Header was failing, which is fine. I know that. So this is failing. Let's see why this is failing. I have to disable this. So my test cases where it is failing, it is saying it is failing here. Okay, so it is not able to find this one button. Let me check if it can find from here, or I can find from the type. Refresh, refresh, yes. Button, yep, button able to be called times. Why it is not able to find button, render, handle, click, screen, get by role. Wait. Move this. Ish. Which one is failing? It is not showing me why. Yeah, now it gave one failed. I hope so. Two failed still. Get by role button. Button. So I have button here. Yeah. Get my role button. Give me 2 minutes only. Let me debug. Anyhow, it is not able to find the button, which is a weird thing. Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. The reason it is failing is because this is expecting a prop which I haven't passed, so that's why it's failing. This is the reason. So what I have to do is I have to also pass here click equals to what I wanted to pass here is I wanted to pass my mock function. So this will come here and now it should pass, hopefully. Still failing. Okay, now it's failing here, which is fine. We can fix this. Fire event dot click on this, which is perfectly fine. And I'm using fire event here also. I'm not sure if this will help, but to be called one to have, okay, sorry, my bad again. So to have been all times, yeah. I'm not sure why it is failing here again. Unable to find an accessible element with the role
You
button.
have in the chat wrong import for button component
Oh, my
from
bad.
helper. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
No, it should. The one fail must be heading one, which is fine. We know. Rest is passing. Let me just cross. Yeah, this is from the heading one, which is fine. So this is how you do the mocking. Thank you for the import one. So this is what you do for the mocking, that all you need to do is just mock that particular function. How to mock? This is the one of the most asked question, how to mock functions. So this is the one of the way you need to mock for unit testing. Just use jest.fn, name it, and then use your fire event or user event here and do this. All we are testing is that how many times you are expecting it to call. The moment you are clicking, we are just expecting it to call once. That's it. So this is how you do the mocking of this function, mocking of function. Now, a few things which are left is the API mocking. For API mocking, what you can do is you can use mock server worker, service worker, that is there. There are few third parties services which you are packages you are using for like Axios, Fetch. For Axios also you get the mocking package. You can use that and then mock. For APIs, mock server service worker is the good one. You can check that. It is very easy to implement. If you wanted to see that how in Spy is another famous one way of doing the mocking. I have the implementation on my GitHub. So if you wanted to check that, you can do that also. So I have written a test case which compare the both. So you just need to go here, and in the source, you will go in the test. In the test, you have this quote. So this one is basically, yeah, this is an example of using Spy. So if you are using Spy to mock your function API request, so this is what you have to do. This is the whole block. You can check it later on. But if you are using mock server worker, then I have already, so you have to make a server, you have to make an API, and then what you have to do is you just need to write a simple test case the way we are doing. You don't need to do anything fancy there. You can read more about mock server service worker on their website. So that is also pretty good. Another thing I really wanted to highlight you is about, let me find that particular test case if I have. No, not this one. Might be this one. Snapshot testing. Yes. So what you can do for the snapshot testing is there are two ways of doing the snapshot testing. The one is you can use the package reactTest rendry. When you use the reactTest rendry, you need to install it. So this is the one installation you need to do. Now what will happen is once you have installed it, all you need to do is just write rendry.create and whatever the component you are expecting to JSON, and then you have to write the assertion. What it will do is it will create a snapshot folder in your uh, code in your in your folder. And what it will do is it will just copy the same how your component is rendering there. What's the other way of doing it? The other way of doing is by the React testing library. Now, what it does is it is not asking you to install anything. What it is just asking you is do this line number 29 and 30. Very straightforward. All you need to do is just get the container out of this particular when your component is rendering and just ask to match snapshot. Now, what's the difference between both? The difference is this particular approach, React testing library approach, is doing the snapshot for the DOM, actual DOM. Whereas this React rendry is doing the snapshot testing on the virtual DOM. If you want to understand the difference between both, then you need to go into the snapshot and you can check this button snapshot and I think this header snapshot. The only difference you will see is line number 6, class. So when your components get rendered on actual HTML DOM or DOM, you will get class. This is happening through your React testing library. But when you use the rendering thing, you will get the class name. So this is the difference. Now, which to use when? So generally, we are doing the testing on the virtual DOM, basically React components. So basically, your alignment would be with this. But if you are doing anything with the actual DOM testing, then you will do the testing with the React testing library. So these are the two different way of doing the snapshot testing. The most popular, I think, because this is the oldest one, I think, I'm not sure, I might be wrong, the rendry one. So you will be end up doing this one. Now, what should be the strategy? My strategy is start with snapshot. It is very easy. The moment you have written the code, you don't need to write any code actually for the test case. All you need to do is just write this or use your rendry and match snapshot. You don't need to do all these things. You don't need to write everything. You don't need to check the element type. You don't need to check the content. You don't need to check anything else. The moment any change is happening, your snapshot will get failed and you will get the error in the terminal that fix your test case. So this is the easiest one. I always start with the snapshot, then I go for these kind of test cases, and then I go for the integration testing. And as you have seen, I have also mix match that I have written the whole test case, and then I'm also writing the test snapshot test. So it depends how you want to do your strategic testing. But my advice to you, if you are not focusing on unit or integration or end-to-end, at least have snapshot testing for your components, so that basically you will at least get in the next release, if any changes are happening and your code is getting break, at least you will get some bugs to fix when you are doing your PRs raise or anything. At least start with that and then slowly move to the next. So yeah, let's see if I have missed anything. Prop styling I have showed you, I guess. If not, let me, it's same with the query parameters. Just give me a minute. Might be in heading. Yeah. So if you will see, I have also tested the have class. So sometime if you are doing the interaction, like for button, just an example button, then your particular class should be there. So you can just do this to have class. Similarly, you have to have style that are also there. So you can do these things also. So yep, testing elements we have done, events we have done, classes we have done, mocking function I showed you, mocking APIs I showed you, async await. Yes, so I haven't used async await, the examples I have showed you, but if you will go in this quote one, this is a quote one, no. So let me start closing these tabs. here you can see that I'm expecting this particular content to come from my mock API, which is gonna take time, which is basically asynchronous. So what I have done is I have used async await. So yeah, so you can do this asynchronous testing also there. Here by using async await, there's wait for also, where you can also put the delay. That for example, you know that after some delay the content will come, or you are guessing, you can put that also there. So these are the things you can do in React testing library. So that is also there. Snapshot testing we talked about. Testing strategy I already talked about. One important thing is 100% coverage is not equal to best code. So if you are aiming for 100% coverage, when I say coverage, basically if you will see here this particular table, this is basically your coverage. How it is coming? It is coming because I have used this particular thing. So if I will remove this, this table will not come. So if you wanted to check that how much coverage is happening in your by your test cases, this is you need to use coverage. And if you are aiming that everything should be 100, that won't guarantee you the best code, because I have already showed you that how you can fake your test cases. So aim for 80, 75 to I would say 85. That's a good number. Start with snapshot testing, very good way, easy way to start. Query methods, spend your time with the query methods. It's a good way to get more familiar. So if you will go to the documentation of React testing library, just search for query methods, type of query methods. Let's see. So yeah, you have your, these are the basically your queries, which it is not showing. Type of queries, get by, query by, find by. These are the way you can do it. And this is the comparison between them. So you can check them. So spend some time to understand this. Mocking APIs, I told you there is Spy, there is a mock service worker. You can pick any of them. On the GitHub, I have showed you the example, so you can compare. Spy on I just talk about, and coverage I just talk about. So yeah, this is about the React testing library and testing your React apps. It will give you a very good start to writing your test cases. Now there are different ways. I want to wrap up this session by saying that there are different ways to write test cases. So the way I'm taking the approach, that I wanted to check the element type, then the content, then the href or the style or anything. Your way of testing would be different. So writing the test case of the same thing could differ from your way, my way, or another developer. But what matters is at the end of the day, that the functionality should be getting covered. So keep writing your test cases. You will keep evolving with the new complex things will keep coming your way, and you will see that how your test cases are improving. Again, repeating the same thing. Start with snapshot testing, start with unit testing, and slowly take it to the next level. So yeah, this is about this. I hope this session was helpful. Thank you so much for staying back. I have taken 15-16 minutes extra, so sorry for that.